So this week, I thought we'd make a cake to go in that smallest of the cake boxes that we made a few weeks ago using that small cake blank. Stay tuned and see how easy and fun it is to make a cake so the dolls can celebrate the 4th of July. Alright, so this week we're working with the smallest of the cake rounds. Yeah, I've got blue clay on here already because I was kind of seeing if this was going to fit. This is just some Pacific Blue Fimo that I had in my stash. I am making the assumption that it's still a color that is available. And I've rolled it out on my pasta machine. I conditioned it. And I rolled it out on a setting number 2. And now what I'm going to do, because the cake I saw online was covered in fondant. So what we want to do is we want to use this blue Fimo to represent that fondant layer. And it's okay, we're going to trim off some more here. I just laid it over it and work it down, and now I'm going to, and we are experiencing a heat wave here in Oregon, which is not normal. We're going to have the highest temperatures since 2012 this weekend, and it's only June. Ugh. So, I'm going to get this video done early this morning. So if I sound a little, my voice sounds a little off, it's because it's pretty early in the day. I'm trying to do this before it gets hot out. Trying to get all my jobs done before it gets warm outside. All right. Now we have some air under here, so I'm going to slit this so my air will come out. Now I want to roll it on my tile, trying to get this as even as I can because I want my cake to be round. And it is already so warm in here, I'm leaving lots and lots of fingerprints, so we will get rid of those in a minute. First, let's cut this off even with the bottom. We're not going to look at the bottom of the cake ever again after we're done because we're actually going to glue this to a cake board. So it's okay if it's not perfect on the bottom. And that little hole won't show because we will strategically place some decoration over that. Alright, myself a wet wipe. Our first method of trying to get rid of our lines, our fingerprints, is going to be just wipe this with a wet wipe. There. Got rid of most of them. It's a little wobbly. That's okay because we're going to work with it later. Alright, so now, this is, okay, we've got a problem. It's sitting, you probably can't see it from the top, but it's sitting kind of sideways. So I'm going to build up on this side. It wants to tip to this side. We are going to put some white clay around the bottom, so it'll be okay. Now it's sitting better, and that will all be covered up with white. All right, so I'm going to pre-bake this now for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't want to get any more marks in this. I'm going to actually let's smooth it up a little more. See if we can get it. Kind of wipe it down with a wet wipe. There. Alright, we're going to bake this off. I don't want to get any more fingerprints on it than I already have. Also, I don't want this blue to transfer to my white because we're going to trim this cake now in some white clay. I want to get all this blue clay cleaned up off of my pasta roller, off my knife, off my tray, off my hands while this is baking and cooling. And when that's all done, I'll come back and we will be putting some trim on this cake. Alright, so our cake base is now baked and we're ready to decorate. Now I have white clay, this is just white Fimo. I cleaned my pasta machine for several minutes and everything else, and I'm still getting blue streaks. So they are just going to be there. That's all there is to it. Now what I've done is I've rolled this out on the thickest setting on my pasta machine. We're just going to make kind of a, turn this towards myself. I'm going to attempt to cut a straight piece without getting my head in the screen. And as much blue as we've got on here now, if we would have done this without pre-baking this part, it would have been a million times worse. I've always said that if I had the space and the money, I would have two pasta machines. One just for white clay, and a whole separate setup just to do white clay on. Alright. I try to do this the way I want it. Actually, I want a small square tile. I'm actually going to bake this on a tile. You don't see me bake on a tile very often, but I'll explain why in a second. Make this fairly twisted. I'm trying my best to get this as even as I can. Now, I have some translucent liquid Sculpey, or TLS. We are going to basically use this as glue because we are putting raw clay onto baked clay. We might need a little help. I'm trying to do this where you can see it and I can see it. Oh, I've had way too much coffee this morning. Sorry about that. Too much coffee, not enough food. Kind of the story of my life in the mornings. And there's a hair on my finger. Alright. Now, TLS off my fingers. And kind of push this up into the TLS. The TLS will bake off relatively clear. It will be translucent. It will blend in with our cake and our frosting. All right. There we go. This from. Alright, that looks pretty good. Let me get some kind of tool. This will work. I'm just kind of evening this up, kind of disguising the joint. Getting this down so that it's level with the tile on the bottom. Now, the reason I'm doing this on a tile rather than on, because I normally bake on a paper plate, which if you've watched my videos for very long, you probably have figured that out. But the TLS I can pop off of this tray. If the TLS got underneath the cake and got between the cake and the paper plate, it would be very difficult to get the paper all off. And that would just be kind of messy, and it could interfere with my gluing it all together later. So since I don't want to dislodge this, I'm actually going to bake this now. And when I'm baking these during the stages, I'm only baking like 5 minutes, just enough to set this up. So I'm going to bake this, and I've got white clay and TLS on my fingers, and I'm getting it all over the top. Okay, I'm going to bake this off at, since I'm using some Fimo goes at 235, I think. It's always a safe temperature, and I'm only going to bake it for about 5 or 6 minutes, and then when that cools, I'll be back. Alright, so this is baked, and that will disappear even more, but that is now on here and will not go anywhere, so I won't mess it up. Now I've rolled out the rest of my white clay at the 4th setting on my pasta machine, which is a little bit past halfway. I have these little cutters. I got these, I want to say I got them at Michael's several years ago. But I want this little star right here. I want this one. Looks like I used it with red clay last time. Alright, now the cake I saw online, I'm just kind of I'm not really totally imitating it, but it inspired me. They had different sizes of stars. I only have one size star cutter, but I'm going to use just little round pieces to take the place. Alright, now, and you might notice I've got a double pointed knitting needle in my liquid Sculpey. I have never had very good luck getting it to come out the lid. This has always been my preferred method of putting this on. So I'm going to kind of put a couple of dots on where I want to put the first couple of stars in there. And maybe one right here. Let's see how this looks. See if I can get these picked up. I'm trying to stay under camera. Really should go eat lunch before I finish this. Alright, sorry about that. My memory card got full. I'd forgotten to clear it off before I started filming today. Alright, so now I've got those 2 dots. That's the beauty of TLS. It does not, you can just sit out in the air for however long you want it to. Now, put another one on. Alright, let's put a couple more dots on. I should cut a couple more too. Whoa, I did not want that there. We'll clean that up in a minute. I should have put this out in a pool on my tray and I didn't. That's about right. I told myself I was going to be more careful about figuring out where these went before I did anything, and then I didn't. Right, let's cut a few more stars. So I get these to pop out too. No, those aren't cut. Okay, picked up out of the way. Trying to pick this up without touching the TLS. Mainly because I just don't want to smear it all over the cake. I want it to stay where I want it. There's a piece of cat hair there. That up. Let's see, let's put, yeah, one there and one there. So I need to cut one more. That's way too much TLS there. off some of that. If I put that much on, it's going to ooze out all over. And I think this is my tray. Here's my paper plate. I'm going to put this on here. I'm going to cut one more star and put on the top. Can we see that? No, we're not under camera. Hopefully I haven't missed with the camera the whole time. Put one more right there. And then I'm going to bake this just so our stars don't move around. And we can go on to our next step. As long as you don't exceed your temperature, you can bake your clay pretty much as many times as you need to get it done. So I'm going to go bake this off so that those stars will stay where I want them. I'm going to go around and make sure nothing's curling up. Alright, I'm going to go bake this off for another about 5-6 minutes and then I'll be back. Alright, now here's so far. Now we are going to add some round pieces. The cake that I was kind of inspired by, they use 3 sizes of star cutters for their fondant. I don't have 3 sizes of star cutters small enough to use for this. And I can see that I used this for red last time too. So I'm going to use some circle cutters. Now this is called a camphor cutter. It's a special cutter for clay. And you can buy them pretty much any place they have polymer clay tools. And you can get them on eBay and places like that too. So let's see how this looks. Let's see. I think I'm going to put some of this down here and get a toothpick because I'm at the very end of that particular container of TLS and it's getting really thick at the bottom. So let's put the dots. Oops. There. Excuse any noises coming from the rest of the house. It's just too hot for me to close the door to this room with all the lights for the video. I tried earlier and darn near cooked. Where did that go? I have no idea. Let's put another dot there. We need to fill in a little. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the other size little dots and show you how to do those. And then I'm going to go ahead and finish putting these on off camera. So that is the smaller one. You know, maybe we'll, do we want to use, I was thinking I'd picked up the bigger one first. I didn't. Alrighty, I think I want to take this one off. Since I accidentally picked up the wrong one first. I had intended to pick up this bigger one first. That's better. Alright. Put these in. And I really should probably go eat some lunch. And let's put another small one right there. So off camera, I'm going to finish doing the sides of the cake. I'm going to bake it off and then I'll come back. We'll do the top of the cake together. Alright, so this is our cake so far. So now let's just finish the top off, and then it can go back. So I've been kind of looking at this, thinking I want to do one big circle right here. So let's do that first. Now, do I want, I'm going to cut another one and decide if I want to put it up here. Nope. I'm going to fill in with small ones now. So let's see, you want, and I'm just kind of doing this by eye. Every time you're probably going to do it a little differently, and you may like your placement of your little bits a little different places than I've got mine. That's okay. I think I'm going to put one here. And one here. And then, and one probably right here. And I think I want some here. I like putting some of them where they fold over the edges of the cake. Let's see if I get this on. Oops. And by pushing them down with my finger a little bit, I round the edges off a little so that they look a little more like fondant. Kind of soften them. Cat hair. There's cat hair and everything in this house, I swear. See, I feel like I need something right there. And probably right there. Yeah, these little cutters are relatively inexpensive, and I use them constantly with clay. They really are. They're used a lot for a lot of different things. Alright, so now I'm going to finish baking this off. This time I'm going to put, I'm going to stop there. This time I'm going to put this in the oven at, I'm baking this at 235 degrees since some of my Fimo calls for a low temperature. And I'm going to put this in for about 15 minutes. I want to completely cure everything. When this is baked and cooled back to room temperature, I'll come back. Alright, so our cake is completely baked and cured and cooled pretty much down to room temperature. I cut a little thing to put underneath it, a little base. I had this piece of, I do card making too, and I had this cardstock that was kind of a gold metallic, and I just used the Spellbinders cutters. Since they sit right here next to my desk, so I thought, oh, I'll just grab those and cut up a nice little scallop shape. It fits under there. It's a little small, but it works. Use my 527 cement. I'm going to put a blob of that in the middle. I'm going to set this on here. Push down. And I'm going to let this set until that glue dries, which, as hot as it's getting today, that shouldn't take too long. When this glue is set up and dry, I'll come back and we'll try this inside the box we made. Alright, so now my glue is dry enough, I think that we can put it in here and not risk it seeping through. So we'll take out our little fake cake and we'll put this in here, in there. Now obviously this is a small cake. This would be, you know, I've seen them in bakeries where they're really small cakes. Let's get a measure on this. We'll kind of translate it for you. So this is about 1.25 inches across. So that'd be a little bit under 4 inches. So it'd be, you know, like the size of a cake top or a small cake. I know some of the nicer bakeries have those. So there's our cake in our box, ready for the dolls to bring home for their 4th of July party. I hope you enjoyed this little project. I hope that you will come back again next time and see what we do then. Be sure and check the blog post because there will be some more information there, as well as I will tell exactly what colors I used and things like that. And be sure and check us out on Facebook. I'm trying to grow our Facebook page. It's a good way for me to communicate with all of you and for you to communicate back with me. The link for the Facebook page is always in the video description, and I will try to remember to put it in the blog post also. So have fun with your dolls, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.